The legal system is too crooked to be, I'm just saying, it's too crooked to literally be trusted. That's it, that's all. And that's all I can say about that. That's the legal system. It's a system of bullshit. And here we go. I'm going to sit down in my office right now.
They keep telling us that the numbers have been going down, down, down. A DC police commander was suspended, accused of changing crime statistics. This guy saying they spent $200 million on this crime lab. And it's not even accredited. They couldn't even test stuff for a long time. Why are you manipulating crime data? Democrats in D.C. have a hard time understanding crime statistics. They keep telling us that the numbers have been going down, 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 and that it's nothing to worry about, and Trump is taking over D.C. These maniacs saying, it's DC's ours. Now we're under occupation, occupied DC by Trump, who's trying to get rid of criminals off the street so that even ABC news anchors aren't getting attacked on the way to their cars. But what we were hearing from them was the numbers are down. But what happened was some people dug this article up from not too long ago, okay? Less than a month ago, July 18, 2025. Trump issued his DC order August 11th. So less than a month ago, guess what happened? A DC police commander was suspended, accused of changing crime statistics. Not good to do that. And DC is a mess. And I wanted to flag this other share over from our friend Bonnie, who's a member over on Locals. And she was flagging this for us. Thank you, Bonnie, for this story. But she posted this too. There's other old stories about just how bad DC is. Flagging this one from Katie Pavlich. And if you look up the news articles about what's going on in DC, you can just see these headlines. DC Crime Lab can now test crime scenes after losing its accreditation. Oh, wait, they lost their accreditation? They're not even scientifically literate such that they can be accredited so that you can confirm they follow proper lab procedures and don't introduce contaminant into your blood samples and DNA analysis, you know what I'm saying? No, they couldn't do it. So DC Crime Lab could have been reaccredited by January. That was a year ago. Here's one 4 years ago. DC Crime Lab says it never concealed filings. Here's another one 1 year ago. DC Council's bill aims to help get the crime lab fully reaccredited. And we'll watch this video of this story. Pretty wild. This guy saying they spent $200 million on this crime lab, and it's not even accredited. They couldn't even test stuff for a long time. Totally ridiculous. But here's the other story. Okay, so the DC police commander was suspended as well. And this went back from NBC Washington reporting, saying the Metro Police Department confirmed Michael Pulliam was placed on paid administrative leave in mid-May, which is nice. So he's just on vacation, paid vacation, even though he's cooking the books. This happened just a week after Pulliam filed an equal employment opportunity complaint against the assistant chief, and the police union accused the department of deliberately falsifying crime data, according to 3 law enforcement sources familiar with the complaint. It's just amazing. The union claims police supervisors in the department manipulate crime data to make it appear violent crime has fallen considerably compared to last year. That's interesting. So the unions are blowing the whistle on their own police department, essentially, which is curious, right? So I think what's probably happening is that police officers are talking to their union reps and saying, hey, man, like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're getting taken advantage of. They want this going on. Like, we deserve better rights. You should go fight for us, blah, blah, blah. But the departments are saying, everything's great. There's no crime going on. What are you talking about? Everything's amazing. You're doing, you're doing exactly what you need to do. Shut up. And so there's a conflict here. So the union is then going after the departments, essentially, and saying, why are you manipulating crime data? All right. So in other words, it's not like, the Heritage Foundation or something saying that they're manipulating crime data. It's union claims, the police unions. Pulliam, the former commander of the 3rd District that patrols Adams, Morgan, and the Columbia Heights areas, was placed on leave with pay, obviously, because he's a cop. And if you do anything wrong, you just get paid. And he's probably, I don't know, getting massages or something, for the investigation for questionable changes to crime data. 5 law enforcement sources, 5, told them in News 4. That came about a week after he filed a complaint against the assistant chief, according to 3 law enforcement people. And it's just amazing. News 4 reached out to Pulliam, and he denied allegations against him. He said, you go talk to the public information officer. Union official says there's a larger trend of juicing the books. When our members respond to the scene of felony offense, where there is a victim reporting that a felony occurred, inevitably there's going to be a lieutenant or a captain who's going to show up on the scene, and they're going to direct those members to take a report for a lesser offense. There's like, there's like a knife sticking out of her back right now. Oh, well, that's a problem. Well, sounds like this was an accident.
Like I said, you can never trust a liar.
Okay, let's just, even disorderly conduct. How about that? They were a little disorderly. She slipped and fell. Oops, got a little knife in her back, so just pull that knife out, and we're not going to call it attempted murder. She's still alive, so that's no problem. So instead of taking a report for a shooting or a stabbing, they'll just say, well, the bullet broke the window, so it looks like it was a theft. So if somebody wasn't shot at, it's just property damage because the windows and body parts were blown off. It's just property damage. Or an injured person, it's just a misdemeanor. It's not a felony, right? The police department's command staff is focusing on 2 categories in order to get the numbers down. Pemberton said, armed with a dangerous weapon and injured person to the hospital as their categories. When management officials are directing officers to take reports for felony assault, or if they're going back into police databases, they're changing offenses to felony assault. Felony assault is not a category of crimes that's listed in their daily crime stats. What? Felony assault is not listed? That's crazy. It's like one of the most common crimes that exists, assault. Everybody's assaulting everybody. That's what, most domestic violences are. Or disorderly conduct, I would say, are probably more frequent than assaults, because disorderly conduct's even more vague. But assault is also, under most statutes, very broad. It's like offensive touching, right? You can charge anybody for that. So it's also not something that's a requirement of the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program. Well, not that I can understand, because the FBI is not usually enforcing assault crimes, like assault felonies. Like, that's not their job. Those types of crimes are enforced by local, agencies, local police departments, which in this case would be the DC Police. They're not reporting assaults. That's like their job. How can you just exclude that? Why don't they just exclude the drug crimes too? And the traffic offenses and the DUIs? So the union, they just don't want the numbers to add up. The union has been gathering evidence for some time by looking at reports and talking to officers all over the city. So the agencies are lying to their own cops, essentially. They got to go to the unions, and the unions are blowing the whistle. That's a positive point for unions here. We don't say that often. What we've heard through our members and through our members who are willing to talk with us is that this is a directive from the command staff, is that they want to make sure these classifications of these reports are adjusted to make sure the overall crime stats are down. This is deliberately done. As of last Monday, when News 4 spoke with Pemberton, DC crime data shows violent crime is down 28%. It's all fake. The department's website also said violent crime is down 25% because they're not counting the assaults. And they're changing the stabbings into property disorderly conducts. That's preposterous, Pemberton said. There's absolutely no way crime can be down 28%. Ridiculous. His wife, Captain Rachel Pulliam, was transferred from the youth division to Midnights. And according to 3 sources familiar with this, Commander Pulliam was ordered to pack up his wife's belongings and move them to his wife's new assignment. And so they say that's abuse. They're attacking his wife now. And so the union released some claims and no more comments to News 4. So it's a disaster over there. And Trump is now going to be fixing it. So cooking the books, indeed. We also...
Well, I see, you can never trust a fucking liar.
Their crime lab is a total disaster, right? All the headlines show deeply concerning problems for years, going back years, 4 years. DC mayor 4 years ago defends the crime lab that says she wants issues fully resolved and may not regain accreditation until 2022, 4 years ago. So it's a disaster. Now, it's still basically been a disaster. It looks like they may have just gotten accreditation back this year after all of this time. This was 2023, and here's what this guy said about this crime lab back then.
$1 million. The district spent $220 million building a state-of-the-art crime lab a decade ago. But since then, it has lost its accreditation twice and left some wondering if criminal convictions based on its work would stand up. Now the DC auditor says part of the problem is that the crime lab has failed to operate independently as it is supposed to. She says its scientific advisory board never got the money it needed to keep an eye on the department, and that the U.S. Attorney's Office and the D.C. Attorney General's Office complained about problems but never used the Stakeholders Council to fix them.
What we found in the audit was that neither of those has performed as intended.
The stakes here are really large, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Well,
and
sure,
we're
it's a lot of
actually
agencies that we
good
paying
work going forward.
a lot of money
We
to
don't
for
have the
nothing.
accreditation, we just don't have the public confidence.
The audit also found that the department mismanaged complaints about professional negligence and misconduct and failed to follow DC law in handling those complaints. Is there a path to getting this department back on track?
I think so, and I think they actually have been working toward that end.
The DC Council is
At least she said she thinks so. She ain't say she believes so.
Scientific Advisory Board, the resources it needs to oversee the department, but the city administrator just wrote that instead of making the crime lab structurally independent, he wants it to keep reporting to the mayor in DC. Bruce Lachey, WUSA 9.
Yeah, it's just a disaster in DC, and it's time for that to change. So Bowser is responding to some of this, and she is saying now we should make DC a state. So they get electoral votes and senators and House of Representatives for their ultra-liberal contingency that is there. So she held a press conference yesterday in response to this. She says, we know that access to our democracy is tenuous, which is such a stupid phrase. Bowser said, what does that even mean? This is why you have heard me and many, many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood. We are American citizens. Our families go to war. We pay taxes. We uphold the responsibilities of citizenship. Yeah, if you live in a federal district, which is maybe the richest district on the planet, with the most benefits and growth happening anywhere. And so you've got access to the federal government. You've got plenty of representation. You don't need one. Bowser said that if people are concerned about the district police department, they should advocate for statehood. What does that do to the crime rates? If people are concerned about the president being able to move into the National Guard into our cities, I guess we should be a state. Now, Trump sent a letter over to the congressional leaders. He said, Trump has sent a letter saying that he is now intending to federalize the D.C. police. Now, I haven't seen the letter yet, but they summarized it for us. The move, which comes hours after Trump signed the deal, allows this to remain in effect for 30 days, so formal notice has been provided to Congress. In one-page letter sent to top leaders on the House Oversight Committee and the Senate Homeland Subcommittee, Trump declared D.C. is facing a crisis of violent crime and lying cops, is what it sounds like. I have determined that special conditions of an emergency exist. California Rep. Robert Garcia said in a statement, it's no surprise that Trump is pulling off an unnecessary stunt to distract from the Epstein files, apparently less and less people care about. Committee Democrats have long supported D.C.'s right to decide how to govern itself, and they're going to keep working. All right, so I think there's a precarious position to be in here because the Democrats risk coming out as being pro-crime. They don't call something what it is, and to say that Trump is racist, bigoted, when you even hear ABC News anchors saying, actually, I got attacked on the way to my car, and other people, even Mayor Clara Bowser, she was asked about this. She said, well, a lot of that, like black-brown stuff, is good for campaigns, but we actually covered that. So here was this one from Joe Scarborough saying, Democrats, even behind closed doors, are celebrating what Trump is doing because they don't want to get shot in the head either.
I will just go back to the fact that, the people that are cheering this on privately are not like right-wing Republicans. They're not MAGA people. A lot of our friends are in the media and also Democrats that worked on Joe Biden's campaign, that worked on other campaigns that are saying, yeah, I'd like to feel safe walking around this city. If the federal government can be a positive partner in keeping the streets safe, while again, forming a partnership with the D.C. police and not taking over, then I at least the people I've spoken with that live in D.C. day in, day out, see this as a positive step.
Well,
I think it's also reasonable to be concerned.
Mika, shut up, Joe. It's also a dictatorship, okay? Is what's going to come out of her mouth next. We're also living